Welcome to the Freedom Founder Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Duggar. Now, have you ever been in a place in your life where you've been confused, uncertain, felt like you didn't have a purpose, or really just not sure how you fit in with the family in which you grew up in? Well, my guest today can relate to all of these things in his story as he's walked through life in different ways to get to where he is today. Now, I want to introduce you to Andre Parodi. He is an NLP a relationship coach, NLP coach, educator of effective communication. He's a published writer, public speaker, and even an ordained minister. He's a gentleman who grew up in Canada but now lives in the LA area. And he has been a professional in the area of dance, danced with people such as Michael Jackson, Paula Abdul, Julio Eglesias, to name a few. Settled down in the LA area, got married, has started a successful body shop, but found that he always has enjoyed self-development. And attending a workshop on understanding women, realized how much he did not know and how much he could then help others learn. Because when he started to teach other people a little bit about what he was learning, he realized they didn't know much either. So he continued that education, working with professionals such as Dr. John Gray, Esther Perel, Chantel Felden, Allison Armstrong, leaders in this field of relationships. And so he's continued to follow that passion to help people engage in effective communication and with their relationships in life as they continue on with their their respective relationships. So he's launched Project Equinox Coaching to help men and women learn to build stronger, long-lasting, healthy, loving relationships. And as mentioned, as an ordained minister, he has been able to also officiate some of those weddings. So thank you and welcome, Andre. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you, Zach. That's quite an intro. I'm like, who are you talking about? Oh, wait, it's me. Wow.
You don't want to put all the highlights out there. And sometimes what's hard with highlights to actually just limit it to highlights because there's so much content that can be shared along that journey.
Right.
So let's start with in regards to early on in your life, you didn't feel like you belonged, but at some point you found a passion that really gave you some purpose that you were able to pursue. So talk a little bit about that and how old you were.
So I was 5 years old when I realized I was born. Really, like, and there's a
Yeah.
lot of my clients actually have that black sheep syndrome. Like, I
Okay.
don't belong here. These are the wrong people. This is not my family. I don't understand
Yeah.
why I'm here. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
there's typically one in almost every family. From my experience, I was the
Yeah.
one. So kind of weird. I was 5 years old, kind of scary, and sort of kind of had to do life on my own terms. From there, I realized it was all on me. So
Right.
scary at the same time. You know, in the name of survival, you step up. Right? You have no choice.
Yep.
You just die or you do or you die. And so
Yep.
dying was not an option. Just anyway.
Right.
So and then kind of a sad kid for that. Isolated, sort of awkward. Actually,
Sure.
that's when I started watching the world. I would watch everyone. Like, I
Yeah.
became a watcher of the world and people and fascinated with the human condition per my condition and, like, how does it all work? So, I
Yep.
started watching the people at 5 years old, just like, they like, so I was the guy in the corner watching, the guy
Yeah.
watching, the guy anyway, so that was my paradigm, and, it's lonely and whatever. But at 15, I ended up in a dance class, literally by accident. My whole life
Yeah.
seems to be an accident, but looking back, it's all connected.
Sure.
uh, Beyond me. And
How'd you end up in that dance class?
a young girl, we were signing up. I went to a private school, and it was a
Yeah.
fancy private school. And for PE, physical education, you could take ballroom lessons.
Okay.
I had no
Yep.
idea. I was a swimmer alone.
All right.
See, I was
Right.
the guy. I was the guy at the bottom of the pool. If you look for me, I was
Okay.
sitting at the bottom of the pool,
Right.
quiet. So this
Yes.
young girl, little tiny young girl, comes up to me. Oh my god! I'm so glad you're here. Like, I want to take ballroom. What? So you had to sign as a couple in order to take class.
Yep.
So she asked me, and I'm like,
Oh,
okay, right, okay. And I'm like, she's this cute little thing. I'm like, I get to hold her in my arms. I'm like, no brainer.
all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how it started. So a week later, we're in class for the
Yep.
first time. I'm 15, almost 16 years old, but I've never done any classes. And I could tell you, like, I remember holding her in my arms, like
Yep.
the ballroom frame when you hold a girl in your arms, that whole. And while the teacher was on my right, and this is the first discovery. Everything he did, I could just copy it.
Yeah.
Like ridiculous. Like just in like it's almost like I knew it already. I just had to be
Right.
reminded, and it was there. Okay, that was a surprise. So I go
Yeah.
from geek to star in about 4 months because I'm the guy who's invisible,
Sure.
and all of a sudden all the girls wanted to dance with me
Right.
as a teen. Like imagine the whew, right? Whoa! And then I'm
Absolutely.
helping because the guys are struggling, and I have it. So all anyway, so I became the teacher's assistant, and I became literally like that's how I came to life on some level. And dancing
Yeah.
is the only thing that kind of lifted my spirit. Like there's
Right.
something musicians understand this, and singers understand this when you the vibrations and the frequencies of music and physicality, moving the
Yep.
two together, right? The what it does inside your nervous system, right? It literally lifts your spirit. It lifts your
Yeah.
spirit. It brings joy and happiness and endorphins. And so that's all I wanted to do. Like I was a sad little monkey,
Right.
and
Right.
so dancing was my thing. And then we did this. I did this the same that college. It was high school into college, the same
Yep.
building for 4 years, and we performed every quarter, every holidays. So we actually started a dance company, blah blah. Blah. So that became all I wanted to do.
Right. Okay.
Um, at 19, I moved away to the West Coast. There's no
Yep.
such thing, and I ended up doing jazz classes because there was no ballroom back east. I mean,
Okay.
back west, and that's how I
Yep.
started doing jazz dancing. And took me out to Los Angeles, and like you said, Michael Jackson, Prince, Paula Abdul, and
Yeah. How do you
yes,
get connected into those circles when you're somebody from Canada, from the eastern
right,
coast of Canada, moved to the western coast, went down to LA on a vacation,
yep,
and then get scouted and audition and then start dancing professionally? Like,
yep.
how does that circumstance? I mean, you just mentioned by accident you got into the dance class, so it sounds like life by accident.
Well, it was weird because at one point I just kind of went with it. Like I didn't
Yeah.
question it. It was just kept
Yep.
pulling me. The opportunities kept coming.
Right.
I was getting all my training for free because people believed in me. I
Yep.
got scholarship after scholarship. That was okay. So okay, go with that. Go with that.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, but up in Vancouver, where I lived at the time, we have in the dance world, all the dance studios have summer dance programs, and they have guest
Okay.
teachers from around the world, around the country, whatever to come. So there was a
Yep.
guy who used to come to our place many times a year, actually, and do the circle of the studios, local studios, as a guest teacher. Who, I became his assistant. So when he was in town, I would assist him in class.
Right.
And at one point, he said he lives in LA. He asked me, he was doing this demo reel, and he says, "Why don't you come to LA? For a couple of weeks, make it a holiday for you. But I'm doing my demo. I
Yep.
want you to be dance captain and drive the show,
Okay.
like drive.
Yep.
Sure. Hey, wow, yeah, of course, right? LA for 2 weeks.
Sure.
So I drive
Yeah.
down with my girlfriend, and literally we got in town on a Thursday night. On a Friday night at the studio where we rehearsed, it was a party, like a
Okay.
party for dancers, like
Yep.
industry people in Los Angeles that are dancing. All people my age
Right.
who do we're doing what I want to do, except I don't
Right.
belong here.
Yep.
And sure enough, and that this is my own Hollywood story. It's so silly. It's amazing though, really. I'm
Absolutely.
dancing with my girlfriend in the middle of the room with a bunch of people, and everybody's 25 years old, and this older gentleman's in the corner staring at me. And he keeps staring at me, and he keeps staring at me, and he keeps staring at me, and enough that it was awkward,
Yep.
and I realized, oh, we're in LA. Okay, we're in LA. Got it. Okay, so turn my back.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
And then my buddy ends up talking to him, the guy who asked me to come down. He's talking to him. They're talking about me. I could see they're looking at me. They're talking.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the hell's going on here?
Right.
And he waves me over to introduce me to the old guy. I'm like, are you
Yep.
out of your mind? You know what I mean?
Yep.
But back then it was too polite still to say, go flip yourself.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I go
Sure.
over there, kind of like roll my eyes, or just turn my head when I shake the guy's hand. And my buddy grabs me by the elbow, and the exit door was right there to the parking lot, like we're in the back of the room. He throws me outside. He
Yeah.
goes, um, this is Steve Merritt. He wants to hire you for a show. I'm trying to like hook you up. You want to say hi to Steve like a person? You dumbass. Like,
Right.
ooh, I don't understand what that means, but sure, right? So it turns out
Yep.
that he says to me, like in a movie, he goes,
Yeah.
"Listen, I lost one of my dancers 4 months ago. I've been auditioning since trying to replace him. I can't find anybody in town that fits. You're exactly what I'm looking for. What do you say?"
This is like a movie right here, like you
Like a
said.
freaking movie, in a dance studio on a
Right.
Saturday night, just chilling.
Yeah.
And sure enough, I'm like, it's the national show,
Yep.
right? And that was, and I go, oh, he's like, what's the show? It's, Chippendales.
Yeah.
And I'm like, are you kidding? I'm a professional commercial jazz dancer. I'm not a stripper. He goes, I'm not asking you to be a stripper. I'm asking you to be in the
Right.
show with the strippers, but we need guys that look the part.
Yep.
So I mean, it says, by the way, how much money are you making professional jazz commercial? Yeah. I'm like, He goes, look, we start rehearsal on Monday morning. This was Saturday night. He
Yeah.
goes, you're in or not? I was in. So I
Yeah.
went on the road and I was gone for a year and a half. Everything paid for, made a living, made a
Right.
killing. And then from when I quit, because I didn't want to do this long, that
Long
was just a
term.
job. It
Yeah.
was just a job. It didn't
Yep.
get me anywhere, right? Like you
Right.
really spend 5 years on the road.
Right.
When do you get off the road? What do you do? I'm on the road trip. No, right?
Hmm.
I'm a dancer. I have a career to build. I have places to go. So
Yep.
I quit until they got an agent, and that's how auditioning, music videos, TV
Yep.
commercials, movies, all that stuff in Los Angeles. That's where the business is, and that's how Michael
Right.
Jackson, Prince, Paula Abdul, and in the circuit, I auditioned and got hired. I was
Yeah.
that. I was that level.
Yeah.
So that's how all this happened. And so from Montreal in a snowbank to Los Angeles in the sun,
There you
I made
go.
it all the way across. And my
You
parents
have
shook their heads. They're like, "How the hell you make money at this? This is stupid." I'm
right.
like, "I don't know, but that's what I'm doing." So
Yeah. Yes. Yep. You turned it into a career path to be able to follow, but it didn't stop there. I know that you, like I said in the intro, you actually then at some point you met your wife and you also needed to be off the road because you can't have as great of a family life on the road all the time. So you had to make some shifts in the time then. So where was that next stage? What happened in that next stage?
So I did this for about 15 years, travel the
Yeah.
world, perform, came back in town, would teach. You came up, you just go on tour with Michael Jackson, your class is full,
Yep.
right? So the business is you audition, you perform, you travel, you teach, you perform.
Yeah.
That's the business. You're
Okay.
constantly doing something else.
Yep.
So that's why my wife was one of my students. Oopsie. I mean, what else? Whatever.
uh,
and
Forgot that part of the story.
Oh yeah, well, like where else are you gonna meet a girl if it's your life, right? In your class.
You fit
Often
well together.
people meet at work, right? Like this. Yeah. Anyway,
Very true.
we spend a lot of time.
Yes.
Uh, my point is, so I was sick of the road. I was done with the road. It sounds glamorous, but after 15 years, getting on
Yeah.
another plane to get mistreated by an angry flight attendant and being
Mhm.
strapped to a chair for hours and hours. This is not glamorous. I'm sorry.
Yep. Right.
So I was done with that on some level until um, we decided to start a family. So like I said, my family setup was so that, I didn't have parents, even though they were right
Yep.
there.
Yep.
So if I'm going to start a family, I was going to be present. I was going to be in their lives. I was going to be
Yes.
there. I was going to be there the whole time. I was going to be in Europe, you know, dancing. So I told
Yep.
my agent, listen, I'm now grounding myself. I'm not traveling anymore. If you want to send me on any local auditions for the work locally, I'm interested. Otherwise,
Yep.
don't bother me. I'm not going anywhere anymore. And she's like,
Right.
are you crazy? We're just gonna, and I go, yes. So in order to keep me grounded, that's when I opened the body shop because
Yeah.
I'm a crazy car guy. I love
Yeah.
classic cars. I love restoring classic cars. I buy classic cars. I just have this thing about classic cars in the past and
Yep.
saving them, restoring them, and all that stuff. So that became that was sort of supplying my need of my addiction to old cars. So I opened
Yep.
the business, and that flew right away. It was instantly successful. Um, and so I managed with all this to buy a house 6 minutes from my business, which was 2 blocks from the kids' school. So me and my wife were both at every recital, every parade, every Christmas parade, every Halloween parade. Like we were all both in the audience for everything. So, and
Yep.
which is the way I wanted it.
Absolutely.
So by design, I just sort of planned my life this way. And
Right.
so,
Right. So you're
um,
off the road. You're able to be at home and attending the events in your children's lives that your family wouldn't have been necessarily a part of. Maybe they were there, but they weren't as part of your life as much as you wanted to be in your
yeah,
children's lives. So you
yep,
had the successful body shop. You're married, have kids. You were continuing in your self development
yep,
career because that in
can't help that.
itself is a whole part of our lives as well. And you found a workshop. Well, actually, you weren't even attending the Understanding Women workshop. You were attending a different workshop at the
Yep.
time. got invited to attend this one. Now, what
for
were your thoughts
free.
when yeah,
For,
so what were
for,
your
f-
thoughts when you were asked to attend
well,
Understanding Women?
well, I didn't know I was attending Understanding Women, of course. Just
Right?
like, I agreed to it before I even knew what it was because we're
Sure.
coming back. I was flying back to LA from another workshop.
Yep.
And this couple I'd met sitting in the same row, I remember thinking it's kind of weird and random. Nothing is random.
Right.
Like I really like my whole life is a chain of connections. Like
Right.
nothing random, even though at the time.
Yep.
Anyway,
We can
she
call them
says to me,
accidents, but, like you said.
we call them
There's
accident or luck. It's not.
right.
It's not. There's something else
Yep.
working. Anyway, so the lady that I met says to me on the plane, "What do you do next weekend?" And I go, "Oh, I'm off next weekend. Why?" She goes, "You want to come to a workshop? It's on me." Of
Alright.
course, right? These
Yeah.
things that I've been doing personal development since I was 23 years old. I never stop. I'm a curious
Right.
brain. I want to know everything I don't know. Just that's my brain. I want to know everything. If you don't know,
Yep.
if I don't know, so free workshop, of course. And then I go, "What is it?" She goes, "Oh, it's called Understanding Women."
Yeah.
And I'm thinking like, okay, that's gonna be cute, right? Now I have to understand without arrogance, my
Yeah.
artistic personality. That's the only way I can describe
Mhm.
it. I always had it easy with ladies. Like I never did
Mhm.
the madness that my friends seem to do. The yelling, the screaming, the misunderstanding. I always
Sure.
attracted sweet. You meet my wife, you fall in love with her in a second. Like I
Mhm.
attracted that type women always. I attracted sweet, gentle women.
Yep.
So I thought it was me, by the way. I thought I had this. I
Yeah.
thought it was me, right? So
Right.
you can. So I'm like, I'm gonna spend a weekend in the workshop understanding women, which is something I don't need, right? Like I got this.
Right.
Anyway, so I went because I promised I would,
Yep.
and thinking it was going to be cute. Oh my god! 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 It's all the whole weekend. Oh my god! How is this possible? Oh my god! How is this possible? And
Right.
I realized at the end of the workshop, my brain was exploded all over the
Yep.
walls, and I realized I knew absolutely this dude who thinks he's no. I knew nothing about women. Like, dude, you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like nothing.
Right.
But the scariest part is I realized I knew nothing about my wife. At
Okay.
the time, we have a toddler
Yeah.
and a baby. Everything's going fine. I'm not looking for this
Yep.
stuff, right? But I realized I know nothing about my wife.
Yeah.
That's Houston. We may have a problem here, right? Like,
Yeah, right.
and my brain, my all kind of grabbing, wanting knowledge,
Yeah.
curious brain, like refused to be a possible statistic because I didn't know.
Sure.
Like
Right.
all my relatives are married, divorced 2, 3 times, one 4 times. Like
Yeah.
that's like no. I got my angel girl, I have my family.
Yes.
I'm not gonna mess that up because I didn't know.
Yes.
So that's how it started. Like I jumped in, took the entire company's curriculum. Within
Okay.
a minute, I was a workshop leader for them because I'm a teacher at heart. So
Right.
that was a no-brainer. I was passionate about this
Yep.
stuff. It was amazing what I learned. And then I started teaching this stuff. And so that's how the machine started.
Yep.
It didn't turn out to work. Me working with that company to which the politics was
Mhm.
ridiculous. But I kept the
Sure.
research, and I saw John Gray fall in the tripped on my on trip. Shanti Felhan in the South, Hester Perel, who's now famous in New York City,
Okay.
Dr. Pat Allen in Los Angeles, who's been at it for 48 years.
Mhm.
Woo! Like the stuff I learned, I'm talking like one on one, like
Yeah.
studying for 3 years, 3.5 years, Dr. Allen, like in a room of 4 or 5.
Okay. Right.
Like everything she's ever learned in 48 years about marriage, relationships, dynamic, men
Yeah.
and women, like all of it on top of everything else that I researched and, did already.
Yep.
So it kind of put the whole thing together for me as a piece. So I think without any arrogance, what I have, what I teach, what I know is untouchable
Yeah.
because I can explain to you that relationship dynamics from a anthropology perspective,
Yep.
uh, chemical perspective, a physiological perspective, a psychological perspective, right, into nature, what works in nature.
Yep.
So all of it sort of connects together, all of it. And so, I
Yeah.
always, that's what I do. I help people kind of figure all that out. Everything our culture is teaching us is making things more complicated and really more impossible to
Right.
attain healthy relationship because of the pulse in the I call it the tidal wave of misinformation,
Okay.
truth that isn't truth, truth that go against nature, and people wonder why everything is more complicated because you're flying in the face of nature. And you
Mhm.
can't, you have choices. We do whatever we want. Right? I'm not
Yep.
righteous. You do whatever you want. But if
Right.
you notice it's not working and we peel the onion, you're going against what works. And what works is
Yeah.
still pretty square in the sense of like it's nature. There's a natural flow of things. There's a masculine and feminine, yin yang, positive, negative,
Yep.
polarities that brings everything together. Everything in nature is polarized. Everything that grows, flourishes, expands,
Yep.
multiplies is polarized, masculine and feminine,
Okay.
yin yang, plus masculine, positive, negative magnets, eons. Like it's all.
Right.
But see, in our culture, we neutralize men and women. We're equal. We equal all the same. We're supposed to be the same,
Hmm.
and we wonder why it's difficult and everyone's confused. Well, that's why.
Right. Right.
That's simply why.
Absolutely.
And what I look like for each individual, and that's the work that I do. Whew,
Yeah.
there you go.
Okay. So
Ah,
you had your body shop going. You started this process of growing in this area of understanding women and relationships and taking it from all angles. At some point, were you still operating the body shop as well as you began coaching and training
yeah.
others?
So I was trying to like the more. So I hired somebody to help me
Yep.
at the shop, like a
Yep.
manager who kind of would. I was trying to keep the body shop as a like ATM machine. People own
Sure.
businesses that have
Yep.
nothing to do with them, right? They just collect.
Yep. Yep.
That was impossible. And what happened is the body
Okay.
shop got bigger,
Yep.
more demanding, more work, more
Right.
needed me more.
Yep.
And then this business took off and got bigger. So at one point, I
Yeah.
was doing both, trying to focus on the coaching, hoping that the body shop would fly on its own. And they became more
Yeah.
and more. So for a few years, I was doing both
Right.
and almost died.
Yeah.
I mean, I never stopped working. It
Yeah.
was constantly, the 45 hours at the shop plus everything else. As
Hmm.
I was doing workshop once a month, like live
Yep.
workshops in person, like the hustling for that, the networking for that,
Right.
the two. So um
Sense.
yeah, and eventually like I realized it's impossible to keep the shop. Like
Right.
to replace me would require a salary that killed the formula. Like
Yeah.
there would be a drainage of money as opposed to an ATM
Actually.
machine. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like there
Right.
was
Yep.
no way to replace me and make it work.
Yep. Yep.
So I sold it.
Yep. Yep.
And the transition came long. It took a while. It took a long while, but that it was essential. It was essential to get here.
Right. Yeah. It's at times difficult when you've built the business around what you are able to offer to it, and then you're not able to be as present. You can't always find that person to replace you in the way that works to continue it unless
Mm,
you are, like you said, pricing yourself out of actually making it work to be the business owner. And well, that's
yep.
part of why we get into business so we can actually make income.
Right.
Yeah, so you had sold the business and then continued to focus on the coaching aspect of your
Yeah.
current
Yeah.
career. Okay.
Yeesh.
Well,
I'm
that's a
exhausted just talking about
no, I mean
it.
that's a journey. Now, how does dance incorporate into currently what you are doing? Now you've moved away from that group that you had been trained under, that you had originally attended, and absorbed all their curriculum, became a trainer. You're
Yep.
no
Yep.
longer a
Yep.
part of that.
Yep.
And but now, how does dance fit in? Because it's still a part of your life.
Well, that's actually how my wife and I met. This is how we bond. This is
Yeah.
how we come together. So every Sunday,
Yep.
I call it date day. So on Sunday we
Yep.
get up late and we take a private salsa class together, like just me
Okay.
and her with a teacher,
Yep.
because I taught her how to dance, but I can't teach her the girl part. So I hired a girl to teach
Sure.
her the girl part with the arms and all that stuff. I can't teach her that, right?
Yep.
I'm the lead. Um, so we take a private class.
Right.
I'm learning new tricks. We're learning new tricks. We get to bond together, and then we go have lunch together, late lunch.
Yeah.
And that's our date day, and we connect with life and what's happening, and then so we're still dancing every week.
Love it. I love that.
Yeah,
That's great
and
that you can
and
continue.
the workshop that I created this year after COVID
Yeah.
finally is over, is I incorporated my live workshops
Yep.
dancing with relationship. The metaphors are fantastic. So
Yeah.
I do literally ballroom dancing with the
Yep.
people that show up at the event. In the what energy are you bringing when you get into somebody's arms, whether you're a man or a
Yep.
woman? If you
Okay.
want to lead, we realize instantly when I put you in a woman's arms how much of a leader you are. Instantly,
Yeah.
like in 3 seconds, you could like the discomfort or the lack of
Right.
confidence, right? Just right in your face, like
Yep.
like nothing I
Right.
could say could get people to that reality so quickly. And the women, as a supporting of his leadership, right? That's the world of
Yeah.
dancing, ballroom dancing. If you can't let him lead, if you refuse to be vulnerable, if you try to help him, right? Now we have a
Mhm.
collision. So I use the paradigms is fantastic. My dance history actually is
Yeah.
helping teach the dynamic of relationship because they're exactly the same.
Okay.
If you can't be vulnerable as a woman to my leadership, in dancing, I get the elbow to the face or the knee to
Mhm.
the groin if you're trying to help me, right? Like you have to be
Yep.
vulnerable. So I have to be the leader, right? And I guess, but leader with sensitivities.
Yeah.
Because in the same in the relationship with dancing, I could overlead my wife. I could actually twist her arm, like twist her shoulder. I could crank her too hard. Literally, I could
Yeah.
overlead, and we're
Right.
guilty of this all the time as men, right? Like you,
Yep.
if you're a man and you're testosterone driven like we are, and you're a bit alpha, like we tend to be too big, too large, too controlling, too right?
Yep.
It's
Yep.
chemistry. So
Absolutely.
as a leader, whether it's my marriage, my relationship, or in dancing, I lead. I like to lead. I'm proud to lead. I'm happy to lead. This is my default system. However, I have to be sensitive about it so I don't
Mhm.
overlead, overwhelm, hurt. Right
Right.
on her side, she's not passive, by the way. Right, the whole idea that
Yep.
being supportive is passive. She's not passive. Like look
Yep.
behind you. This is us dancing.
There it is.
You know what I mean? Now, do you
Nice.
think what she's doing here is not passive?
Yep.
Right? Her job is not passive. Her job is doing everything I'm doing backwards in high heels and a skirt. Right? That is
Okay.
not easier.
Right.
Right? However, if she's vulnerable to my leadership, she lets me lead,
Yep.
but she has to trust that I'm not gonna spin into a wall or a table or another couple, right? Like so she
Yep.
has to let go of control for her and be vulnerable to let me take her on an adventure on the dance floor,
Yep.
but she lets go, but she's also holding her side, like she's
Yeah.
supporting her frame, she's supporting, so she's active but vulnerable and let go,
Yeah.
right? Vulnerable to my
Yep.
leadership. That's a relationship. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And in that, when
Absolutely.
she's not comfortable, she's asked for adjustment. If I go, right, there's adjustment, there's negotiating, there's like,
Yep.
when you do this, it feels like this. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And again,
Yep.
if she's trying to help me, if she's not, and this is fantastic, same in relationship,
Yeah.
if my leadership softens, then
Mhm.
I'm not sure what's going on next. Like as I'm planning the dance, if I for a second lose my focus or go, what's next? She instantly stiffens up. Like it scares the shit
Yeah.
out of her. Excuse my French, right?
Yep.
She
It's
stiffens
alright.
up. Same thing in
Yep.
relationship. If the guy doesn't lead, or if he loses it, or if he's
Yep.
soft, she has to take it over. Right?
Yep.
There's an instant reflex of oh shit, somebody's getting
Mhm.
right? It makes women
Yep.
insecure.
Yep.
Makes women actually very insecure and very uptight and very stressed.
Right.
So again, the dynamics here is amazing. So I teach men take the
Yeah.
lead, sensitively, right? You have to check with her. You have to check with her. You have to check with her. She feels
Right.
safe that you lead. However, don't overlead and keep checking. And for her, let him, build a trustworthy record that he is a good leader, that
Mhm.
he's negotiable with. You know what I mean? And the more you
Yep.
let him lead, the more you can relax into that, which makes you feminine and warm and lovely and radiant, which is a part that men are attached to. That the more,
Yep.
when a woman is happy, we'll do anything to keep her that place.
Right.
That's nature
Yeah.
again. I mean, the masculine
Yep.
wants to provide and protect to the feminine because when the feminine is good and happy, I'm good and happy.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Right.
That's all
Right.
we're looking for.
Yep.
This is nature. That's what I'm talking about. So if we
Yeah.
go back to that, it works really easy. It's much, much simpler,
Yeah.
right? But if both want to drive the boat, if both want to lead,
Yep.
I'm going to get hurt. And basically, it's not men in front of women, which is the culture is always saying that was the problem. So
Mhm.
now it's like women in front of men. Well, no, no,
Mhm.
no self-respect man can get in sync with that. It's
Uh,
side by side. It's a
right.
partnership,
Yes.
right? It's pilot co-pilot. But in
Yes.
our culture right now, we teach women don't need no man and get in front of him and you go girl, right? And take the lead and you're supposed to do it your way. That's women in front.
Uh,
That doesn't work. Men can't hang with that. If they're masculine at all, they won't hang with
mhm.
that. They'll leave. They will
Sure.
leave. They won't deal with
Sure.
that. Again,
Right.
nature, right? So it's not him in front, you in front. It's side by side as a partnership, and that's like pilot co-pilot.
Yep.
Together, we fly the plane. If we both go for the wheel, the plane crashes.
Yep.
This is what I see all day
Yep.
long. You can't both go for the wheel. It goes to
Yeah.
hell.
Yep.
It's pretty simple.
Yeah. No, I love the way you described that, and then that also being able to incorporate dance into what you're teaching because it's part of your life for so long, and
Yeah.
it's a really cool skill to actually teach people too that may have never actually taken a dance class, and a way to bring them together and teach in a more of a demonstration manner,
Uh-huh.
I think. And I liked your description too. If the man stops leading, then the woman stiffens up, and it's like, oh, now what? That
Right.
insecurity that can occur at that point. Really, I can see how that similarity right there.
Yeah.
Very, very well stated.
It freaks them out. It freaks them out. It's amazing
Yeah,
to see it live. You can see like instantly,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know, and the women will get
Absolutely.
angry sometimes, like,
Sure.
he's not leading me, right? And it's
Yeah.
just it's a way of saying I don't feel safe. I don't feel
Yep.
safe. I don't feel safe. And if a woman
Right.
doesn't feel safe, nothing's gonna work.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
Ever.
Right.
So what
Bringing the
makes a woman
certainty.
feel safe is a solid leadership.
Yep. Certainty, security. I want to ask a question that I
Yes,
ask
sir.
all of my guests.
Yes, sir.
One of the things that I want to just hear what your input is on this. When, if given $1 million at this point in life, no strings attached,
Mhm.
what would you do with that and why?
Oh, so easy. That's such an easy answer.
Yeah.
So my mission, I have a good business, right? I have
Hmm.
everything. Everything's working, blah,
Yeah.
blah. But the real mission, I have a God mission, like, and
Yep.
I don't know why God is over here for me. It's up there.
Yep.
But it's a calling that I've had my whole life. I just didn't know what it was until I discovered I got to this section of my life. There was a
Yeah.
pull. There was a pull. Something big for you to do. Something big for you to do. Something big for you to do. That's why I pushed through my life, because even when I would try to quit, and when I
Yep.
was a kid, I didn't think I was going to really be here long enough, really, because there was
Right.
no point, right?
Right.
There was this
Yep.
pull, like, no, no, there's something big for you to do. So I thought when I was dancing, I was going to be a star. Well, that's not
Yep.
it. And then when I had the body shop, I'm like, I don't know, that doesn't make any sense, right? Then all of a sudden,
Hmm.
this thing. So the God calling that I had my whole life, the pull at my heart was, I'm here because of my past, and all of this actually
Yep.
got me to be here, to be this guy and this mission, and it's my God calling to teach this to the masses,
Yeah.
like
Yep.
Oprah big stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
So if you give me $1 million, that money would go into all the networking, you know, uh,
Right.
feeding machine, right, of the
Yep.
social media stuff, right, to buy
Right.
ads to get my material. I have a lot of material, right, but it
Yep.
keeps trickling out in the world organically. But if you get
Right.
some money behind there, even like start my own, like create my own, have my own TV show,
Yeah.
right, my own production, and because the stuff is actually really easy to teach.
Yeah.
It's easy to teach. It's ABCs. It's a little bit tricky. It's a lot of details, but easy to
Yeah.
teach. People get it. My clients get it really quickly.
Yep.
It changed their lives in 4 months.
Right.
On a span of a lifetime, that's nothing, right? It's a bleep,
Absolutely.
right? So
Right.
before, and it's your life before, life after, and
Yeah.
those are like, so to see, so that would be the thing. My mission, it would allow me to push through the mission,
Yeah.
the calling to actually teach this to the masses in the United States
Yeah.
first, and then worldwide, and maybe start even a school where I could train people to do
Yep.
teach this
Teach
stuff,
others to teach
blah
what you're
blah blah.
doing. Yep.
There you go.
Yep.
There you go. So
Absolutely.
that would just like expedite that process, because I'm doing
Yeah.
that anyway.
Right.
I'm doing it anyway. It's gonna take longer without the
Yep.
$1 million.
Right.
So
I love that vision, and I think that that is one of the things that people pursue in life is to find that passion, that purpose that they can find fulfillment in doing. So I'm so excited that you found your passion, your purpose,
thank you.
having walked through some difficult periods of time, but it brought you to where you are today. Like we said earlier, it's not by accident, but for a reason. Yeah.
It's okay, but at the time was not obvious. You know what I mean? Looking
Right.
back, oh my goodness, like all of that was necessary to get here.
Yeah. No,
All of it,
absolutely.
all of it.
Right.
Like, I could go back and be mad at my parents. I'm like, it's really hard to be mad
Yeah.
at them when this kind of like how things turn out and what I did with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely.
that guy's pretty cool.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, well, I think we should be just go with that. Right? So,
Well,
and by the
I
way,
would.
I want
Yeah.
to say thank you, because one of the ways that I've spread the mission is really to
Yeah.
get on a podcast like this and talk about it, and kind of send the
Oh,
waves
absolutely.
out, send the
Yeah.
waves out. That's why I do a lot of podcasting, send the
Of
waves
course. Yes.
and let the world discover. And whether somebody has a TV studio and goes,
Yeah. I
hey,
think that would be a great show. Honestly, when you talked about that, I would love to watch that show. I think there are so many people who need better, well, not just better, but just some education in the area of relationships. I don't think very many people, it's like finances. People don't grow up learning about personal finance. They're probably not learning much about relationships other than what they see. And if there are so many people around them who are separated, divorced, unhappy, unsettled, then that's the example that they're following.
right.
So,
The example right now in
yeah.
the culture is chaos.
Yeah.
Chaos.
Yeah.
And so why would
Right.
people try even to do this? But nature has us
Right.
constantly trying, constantly trying. How many times did I
Yep.
hear, I'm not doing this again. I'm done with men. I'm done with men. I'm
Yes.
done with women, right? And I
Right.
smile and I go, and then 2 months later, this guy in the store was really cute. I'm like, here we go.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
so we're compelled,
Happens
we're
again.
pulled. It's nature for us to come
Yeah.
together. We're better as a couple. We're better together. We're healthier, happier, make more money, more creative. There's a lot of data on this.
Yep.
People live greater lives when they're in good, healthy relationships. So
Yep.
that's nature taking over all the time. But our culture is destroying. Like it's so ugly out there, the divorce and the
Yeah.
abandoned kids, and you know what I mean. So
Right.
people are afraid of that and the case, and ultimately,
Yeah.
it's belief system out there is all crooked and backwards, and we just have to get back to nature. That's what I teach, and then and marry those people. I mean,
Absolutely. Yes.
that's a
Well, I
pretty good
admire
deal.
what you're doing. And if our
Thank
guests
you.
wanted to reach out to you, what's the best way for them to connect with you and to find out more?
Okay, so my website, projectequinox.net.
Okay.
.net.
Yep.
But I have a gift for your listeners if they want.
Okay.
So as a rule, there's two types of people who listen to podcasts. There's people who just
Yep.
curious, they want some information, which is fine.
Yep.
Right. So if your listeners want more information, stuff that I do, stuff that I offer, if you email me, that's my personal email, Andre Coaching, the number one at Gmail, Andre Coaching one at Gmail. And if in the
Okay.
subject, the email subject, you say irresistible book, I will send you. I have a book that I wrote, 28 pages, almost 30 pages, called uh, five feminine qualities high value men find absolutely irresistible. I sell it on my website, but I'll send it to you, your listeners who actually send me an email saying it's irresistible book information. It's really good stuff.
Yep.
It's really good stuff. So I'll give that for free. Just
Okay.
email me. And then the second group of people that listen to podcasts typically like want to take action. They're like, okay,
Yeah.
I want to know more about this. Let's go, let's go, let's go. So if you email me, Andre Coaching One at Gmail,
Yep.
and go in the subject, talk now,
Yeah.
I'll then reach out to them and just send them a Zoom link, and we'll have a conversation. It's an hour
Okay.
call about
Yep.
what's not working, where they're stuck, and how I can help.
Yeah. Okay. All
So
right.
that's
That
a
sounds
that's a
great.
that's a free gift. That's a good opportunity. 'Cause you have to be brave. People get nervous, but
Absolutely.
this is who I am. Like, there's nothing to
Right.
be afraid of. We'll talk about what's not working, and
Yep.
like that call is pretty awesome because I go right back into childhood with when typically trauma kind of got people out of sync with their
Yep.
essence. Women get more masculine, men get more feminine, and that messes up their lives. That's typically where people are hooked. You know what I mean? And so, and like in
Yep.
15 minutes into that call, we figure out where the wheels came off. So you realize there's nothing wrong with you. You're just a product of your past. There's nothing wrong with you. Like that's
Yep.
liberating, right? And so that call alone is could be life changing for some. I'm just saying.
Absolutely. Well, I encourage anyone who's listening to reach out to Andre. If you want that free resource, go to projectequinox.net for information, but email him, andrecoaching1 at gmail.com with the subject Irresistible Book. And if you want to dive in deeper, reach out to Andre for a conversation, andrecoaching1 at gmail.com with the subject Talk Now to set up that Zoom call. What you see is what you get, like he said. So,
Straight up.
well, Andre, thank you very much for taking the time to join me
Thank
today.
you.
Really appreciate the conversation, the work you're doing.
You too. Thank you. And like thank you again for helping me spread that out there. That's you're
Absolutely.
becoming part of the you're part of the mission now. Thank you.
Make way.